Welcome back to the best training channel on YouTube. It has been a minute since I've been here. I went out to the States, had a vacation, took some time off from filming and doing some training as I got back to Iceland for the last couple weeks. Part of that reason why I took the break is obviously being on vacation. I didn't film stuff too much, didn't edit a lot of things, but I also did some content with Tim Riley, Zach Zillner, on the Coach 'em Up and Train 'em Up episodes, and I wanted those to come out before I made my next YouTube video. And since those have all been released now, I am back on YouTube making training videos for today. So I'm gonna run through my warm-up and kind of break down what it is I've been doing for the last month, essentially, since I put up my last video. So we're gonna be doing some heavy acceleration focused work today, sled bounds, contrasting sets with just regular accelerations. So I'm going through kind of my acceleration style warm-up today, and then we're gonna get after it. So we'll start off with some skipping and arm circles. So if you haven't yet, make sure to go over to Coach 'em Up on YouTube. Watch the podcast episode I did. I did 2 Train 'em Up episodes with Tim. One of the episodes was out on the track. Another one was in the weight room. Probably 2 of the more fun sessions I've had in a very long time. So I won't speak too much about that experience. I think you guys can watch the video and see I had a lot of fun doing that. But before I went to Texas and spent some time there, first thing I did when I went to the States is the thing I want to talk about the most today. Finish off these skips real quick with some lateral skips on both sides. Alright, so the first thing I did when I went to the States is I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma to get some stem cell treatments. And this variation of stem cells that I got is called VSEL, very small embryo-like stem cells. And this variation of stem cells comes from within your own body. So it's not like getting an external source of stem cells injected into yourself. What they do is they draw blood. These cells are already within the body. They're just very dormant, so not active. And it goes through this process of turning these cells on, making them active, and then re-injecting it into your body. And the process of this treatment was, first, they loaded me up with BPC 157 to kind of accelerate the recovery process from the treatment because they end up taking a lot of blood. I go to the lab. They drew about 20 of these small little vials of blood, kind of similar to as if you've ever done PRP, anything similar to that. The process starts off the same way. Take a bunch of these little vials of blood, they put it in this machine, spin it up to separate the blood from the plasma. While that machine is spinning up the blood, they gave me an IV of methyl blue and copper peptides. And copper peptide is something that's already within your system. They just gave me extra amounts of copper peptides, and it's supposed to accelerate the regenerative process of creating more blood because they took so much blood from me. They spin up the plasma from the blood. They put the plasma into new vials. I had this little chemical or something in it that's supposed to help start the process of activating these very small embryo stem cells. Then they spin it up again, and then it begins this process of like really turning these cells on and getting them prepared to be like non-dormant cells or become active cells. It went through like an infrared oven, and it's not like an oven that's hot, it's just an infrared light that's being shown onto the cells. Then it goes into this machine where it shoots lasers at them, and those lasers are tuned to a certain frequency that are supposed to help turn the cells on. Then it goes into a cryobath that's being vibrated and shook around, and all of those different little treatments are supposed to help activate the cells, so when they re-inject them into your body, these cells are now turned on and they're ready to do work. And after these cells went through this whole process of getting activated, they re-injected it into me, which was the weirdest part because it came straight from this cryo bath, re-injected it in, and it was still freezing cold, and I could feel like the coldness going up and through my arm, into my armpit, start feeling it into my chest and in my throat, which is the strangest part of the entire thing. That whole process took about an hour. And after I went through the VSEL, I went and sat in like this crazy electric chair looking thing, which I'm not 100% sure what it was supposed to do. I know they told me, I just forgot, but I'll show you guys a clip of what that looked like. It was, it was pretty bizarre.
Right. Okay, so what we're doing with the Lacoste here is these are tuned Tesla coils, and so they'll fire high frequency, high voltage static electricity through you. Your cells will pick up what's missing and charge themselves. Okay. Oh, there's a second noise. That's crazy.
But for whatever it did, I'm not sure. I just thought it was a cool experience to throw in there. All I really remember is the electric chair had something with like tuning the nervous system to better be receptive to something else. I don't know. So I'm butchering the science behind this. Obviously, I'm not a scientist, but the experience with the VSEL, now that I've had this for about a month, I can tell you some of the benefits that I've seen from getting the stem cells. Real quick on what these stem cells are supposed to do is they are a variation of stem cells, but they're very young, meaning that they haven't fully developed into other cells. So they still have the ability to morph into other cells within the body. So when you take them out of your system, activate them, turn them in, what they do is they start to just flow through the system, find places that need repair, that need some sort of extra love, I guess you could say. And those cells can morph into other cells within the body. Essentially, that's why they call this like a biohack or like an anti-aging tool, is because it essentially can bring down your biological age. They've also seen huge improvements in athletic performance, in terms of energy, in terms of recovery, in terms of injury recovery specific. So like if you have tendon or ligament injuries, if you have muscle tissue injuries, anything like that, these stem cells have the ability to kind of help regenerate tissue faster and have the ability to help you get back from an injury a lot faster as well. And then the other part of recovery I was talking about is just like daily recovery from extraneous activity. So training, just living an active lifestyle, things like that. So all of those things I can say for sure I have experienced so far, minus the injury recovery thing because I haven't had any injuries. But my energy levels on a daily basis have been noticeably higher than previous. And I haven't really changed anything in terms of like diet, sleeping habits, no new supplements that I'm taking, no changes in the amount of caffeine that I'm taking, anything like that. Just like daily amount of energy that I have feels like it has gone through the roof. My recovery after training has gone through the roof. I feel like some days I'll go into the gym and I will destroy myself, especially over the last couple of weeks as I'm getting towards the end of this training phase that I'm doing. And I'll wake up the next day and I feel like I haven't trained as hard as I should have. The amount of soreness that I was expecting or the amount of fatigue that I was expecting to happen wasn't matching the level of output that I was there. So the soreness and the fatigue was on a very minimal level. The output on like how hard I've been training and the amount of volume and some of the stuff I've been doing has been very high. So I feel like there's some sort of increased recovery happening since doing this treatment. The craziest thing that I've noticed is for the past 8 to 10 years, I've had tinnitus, and tinnitus is caused from like being in loud environments. So obviously the fact that I've worked in a lot of CrossFit gyms and a lot of other gyms continuously where there's just loud music going on. Sometimes I'd be in the gym for 8 to 10 hours on a daily basis, coaching, training. And also I've had multiple concussions throughout playing football, throughout doing bobsled, head trauma type issues that have caused this tinnitus. And I've always had this constant kind of ringing in my ears. And every time I would bite down, that ringing would get a lot louder for a brief moment. And then there would be periods of time where I would essentially go completely deaf in my left ear because the ringing would be so loud that it would outweigh the amount of noise that I could interpret throughout that left side of my head, so my left ear. So I went and got the VSEL on Sunday. About a week later, I woke up and I felt really, really good. But I felt really, really strange. Something was off and I couldn't really pinpoint it. It took me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to realize that the ringing in my ears that I've been dealing with for the last 8 to 10 years had completely gone away, 100%. And it has not come back to this day. So this has been almost a month since that happened. I still have zero ringing in my ears. I still have, even when I bite down, like anything like that, I've been listening to music loud, and like it hasn't come back yet, which for me is the most bizarre thing that has ever happened. Even the fact that I've dealt with this for the past decade, I did this treatment, and now all of a sudden it's just gone. So even if nothing else happens, and I just feel like I have more energy and that I'm recovering better, the fact that that ringing has gone away has honestly been life-changing. It's probably part of the reason why I feel like my recovery has gone up. Because if you've got a constant ringing in your ears, no matter how well you think you're sleeping and stuff like that, it's probably being affected a little bit. No matter what, the treatment was well worth it, given the fact that it is eliminated a symptom of something that I've dealt with for 10 years that I thought I was gonna have to deal with for the rest of my life. And now that it's completely gone is kind of mind-blowing. But before you guys run off and try to go figure out how to get VSEL treatment, stuff like this, it is not a cheap treatment. The amount of work that they did, so they charge per vial. There's a certain amount of cells that you can get in like a range. So like it's, I don't remember the exact, but it's like you can get 300 to 500,000 of these cells within one of these vials. They obviously took 20-ish of these vials when they did it for me, but they charge per vial. So I asked them when the treatment was over, I was like, how much is something like that going to cost somebody? And it's about $25,000 to get this treatment. The person who did the treatment for me, his name is Ian Mitchell. He owns Wizard Sciences, and if you've followed me for any amount of time, you know that I'm a strong believer in the Wizard Science products, the Olympic, the Neural, the Elixir, the C60 stuff that they have. Their products are by far the most beneficial products I've ever tried in my life. This is not an ad for them. I do not get money from them. Sometimes they send me free products when they create new stuff and they want me to try it out. But a lot of times I'm just buying stuff from them and having it shipped out to Iceland. So there is a link down below. If you want to check out Wizard Sciences, go check it out. Buy some of the stuff if you want to try it out. I would recommend starting with the C60. And if you have the ability to, it's expensive stuff. You go up to the Neural or the Olympic, but you can read about what the benefits on all those are on the website there from the link down below. But I will say, for sure, without a doubt, VSEL has definitely been a positive experience for me, and is something that if I have the ability to do this again later on in life, I am 100% going to be down to go and do this. So with that being said, we're gonna get into the rest of today's workout. So we're gonna start off with some heavy sled bounding, and then contrast that with some accelerations. After we do the sled bounds and sled accelerations, probably going to finish off with a little bit of weight room work, but I don't know if I'm gonna film the weight room work today. So those that are following on the monthly subscription program, you guys know Mondays have been kind of a high volume day. We have sprints, we have a lot of lifting today, so that's what I'm on today. I'll get the sprint work filmed for you guys, but more than likely, I'm gonna leave the weight room out and film that stuff later on this week. All right, so normally when I go into the weight room, I start off with some sort of a jump. I've been experimenting with some stuff on my acceleration days. I'm doing my jumps and combining those with some of my early warm-up accelerations. So I'm probably gonna do somewhere about 10 drop jump variations and then do kind of like a 10-meter acceleration, combine those to kind of use like an additional warm-up, prepping myself for the sled bounds, because the sled bounds are going to be really heavy, and I'm going to be focusing on kind of over exaggerating the extension and the amount of ground I can cover on each one of those steps. The depth jumps or the drop jumps and the accels, I feel like are power-based type warm-up that are allow me to get straight into the sled and feel really good on that first rep. So I'll probably do somewhere around, I don't know, 8 reps, give or take, depending on how these feel. So I'll do a drop jump, and then I'll do a 10-meter accel, drop jump, 10-meter accel, drop jump, 10-meter accel. And like I said, somewhere around 8 reps total on all this is going to be a good range. I'm not going to be super strict on the drop jump. So like a normal drop jump would be hands on hips, really stiff when you land on the ground, trying to explode up. This is probably going to be like a quasi half drop jump, half depth jump variation. All right, so just gradually built up on some of those depth drop variation jumps and kept everything on the acceleration side at that 10 meters mark. Felt really good. That might be something that I'm gonna keep in for the next phase when I'm doing my acceleration days. I don't think something like that would be too specific towards mass velocity work. With the acceleration stuff, you're starting in a static position and you're trying to overcome that static position and get momentum and velocity moving as quickly as possible. So the drop jump going into an acceleration really focuses on breaking that inertia and being able to explode into velocity as quickly as possible. So I like how it felt today. I think that's going to be something that I'm going to keep in for the next training phase. But I don't have a lot of memory left on this card. So there's not going to be a whole lot of talking as I'm going through this next part. But what I'm going to be doing is just going to do 2 to 3 reps of heavy sled bounds followed by an acceleration. The heavy sled bound for me is going to be about, I don't know, 60 to 70 kilos on the sled. And we're going to do that for 10 meters. And then I'm going to rest about 30 seconds and follow each one of those up with a 20-meter acceleration from a 3-point stance. After I've done about 2 to 3 of those, I'm going to do 2 to 3 sets of a moderate sled bound, which is going to be probably about 20 to 30 kilos less than my heavy. So somewhere around that 30 to 40 kilo sled. Do a bound for about 20 meters and then pair that with a 30-meter acceleration from a 3-point stance. So anywhere between 4 to 6 total reps on everything for the contrast sets. So we'll do 2 to 3 short heavy bounds, short accel, 2 to 3 moderate heavy bounds into a moderate accel, and then head into the weight room. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to get the weight room stuff filmed today just because I don't have a lot of space left on this card. But the weight room focus is just going to be power development. So we're going to do some like heavy sets of 3 on a couple sets of squats, pair that with some depth jumps, and then maybe do a little bit of isos that I've been doing for the past 3 months. And that's going to be pretty much it for the day. So if you've made it to this point of the video already, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Hope you guys like the sled work and the sprints that I'm about to do. And then I'll see you in the next one. This will probably end up actually just being like clips. And then when it's actually getting spun up, you can maybe say some cool stuff that's going on, because I don't obviously
Well, once it goes from here and I put it in the centrifuge, It has a solid lid. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, you can't even see it being centrifuged.
Make it look pretty.
I know, that's what I'm doing.
So when I Googled VSEL,
Yeah.
what I found was like 3 different resources really on like what people were doing.
Yeah.
And then, but the one thing that was kind of common is I don't remember the word that they were using to describe it, but the VSEL cells are a specific type of cell that can like morph into whatever.
Pluripotency.
That's what it was.
Yeah. So the idea is, so you've got some things that can't differentiate to become anything else, right? They can differentiate into 1 or 2 things. These are pluripotent. So the reason they call them very small embryonic-like is embryonic cells are pluripotent. They can become anything: bone, brain. You know, you can become like eyes, like nerves, neurons, whatever, right? It'll become anything. And so this is basically the same setup. The thing I like about the V cells is that not only can they completely pluripotentiate, and become anything else, but they're so small that they roll right past the blood-brain barrier. So there's a real high likelihood that you're going to get some neuronal changes. And if you're going for like neuroplasticity and want to learn stuff, or pretty much everybody pushes themselves, but you only get a few new neurons produced every day, right? So your hippocampus pumps out new neurons every day, but your body usually kind of kills them off because they're very resource consumptive.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things, like with you've taken neural, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that I always tell people about neural is in week 3, the hippocampal neuron production goes up, but your body's going to kill them off because your brain accounts for 2.5–3% of your body mass, but it consumes 20 to 25% of all of your oxygen.
Right.
So it is a resource consumptive beast. And the only way you will keep them is if you put them under load, like if you cognitively force them under load. So this has kind of the same effect. So a couple days after you do this, because these are really quick acting, you'll want to do something where you put yourself under a little bit of a cognitive load, where you try and juggle or do something like that.
Okay.
And that will help cement the new neurons into place. Because so you don't have any physical ailments. There are no points in your physiology that are impinged. So we don't need to. Normally, we take the laser, we quantize the V cells, and we'd actually get them to move to a specific spot on your body. In the case of what we do, I quantize them at 3 different frequencies and get them basically tuned. So once the laser hits with one frequency, it pulls part of it to that spot. Hits with the second frequency, I can pull the others to another spot. Hits with the third, I can pull it to the third spot.
It's always the ones that have the beautiful veins that they don't want to cooperate.
So we're gonna pull blood, spin it,
Yep.
freeze it, and shoot it with lasers,
Yep.
while also vibrating the shit out of it.
Yep. Yeah. You'll feel it. It's actually kind of an interesting thing, because when you get it back in tonight, most likely tomorrow you're going to feel like a rock star. Tonight, you'll be a little tired.
I'm gonna be tired from jet lag anyways.
Yeah. Did you just roll in from Iceland, like direct?
I stayed the night in Chicago last night.
Oh, so you literally just got in?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You're stop number 1 on this
Tells you.
little mini US tour I got going on.
Okay, very cool. I didn't realize. I thought you'd been here for a couple days. So
No.
this is it.
So even though I don't have any physical ailments or anything, what would your expectations that this is going to end up doing, or what do you think I'll feel like the biggest impact or benefits from it?
So tomorrow you're going to feel crazy energized, and just basically. So even though you don't have any injuries per se, there are going to be certain points in your body that, because of the level that you're performing at all the time, they're going to be more taxed than others.
Oh,
right?
100%.
And those spots will be the first things that this addresses. So your body, when you have areas where you're outputting a higher load, or it's more difficult to keep up with the remainder of your body, those areas have cytokine markers, right? Like markers for inflammation, or chemokines, which is kind of the broader group that cytokines are a subset of. And so you'll have those markers, and so this will trigger the B cells to respond to those areas. So they'll go through and they'll isolate the areas that have stress and rebuild them. So wherever it is, and that's the thing, we don't have to know. your body knows. Like,
That, yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, because I always have like periods where there'll be some aches and pains, but I don't like it's not being hurt and it's not injured, and it's
Yeah.
just like because of the way that I train and I do still push myself, like that happens.
yeah, I mean, man, the way I've watched your videos and see you train, you're putting yourself under a load all the time. Like those box jumps. They're so ridiculous. What is your highest jump?
I mean, I haven't measured it at all recently, but when I was in like going out for arena football, my vertical jump test for that was 46 inches. And then my broad jump test was 11'9".
Okay, that's crazy.
So I have done my
46-inch vertical.
I don't have an accurate way that I could measure my vert, so I've just been stacking up boxes right now.
Yeah.
So each of these like boxes that I have are 20 centimeters, and I can stack up 5 of them, so it's 1 meter, which is right around 40 inches, and just like straight leg hop up to it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that I think is cool. You're always coming off the bench just cold, like kangarooing yourself up to the top of those things. I'm like, holy shit, that's insane. Sometimes, for me at least, quantifying some of this stuff, that's like what I've been doing at UCLA, trying to quantify a lot of this stuff around the V cells. It's so much fun to actually get the data and go, okay. Because you see things that, or at least I see things that I've missed, and kind of go, oh, okay, well, this means this. So if I change XYZ, I can get this much more output on the tail end.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of like finding the leverage points. That's exciting to me. I'd imagine like quantifying all the training